Yes guys, welcome back to Hair System DIY. I've got something different for you today, a different background. Spring is coming in the UK, it's one of my favourite seasons, and the bluebells are out. In this part of the UK we get bluebells between April and May every year, and they just look absolutely stunning. And they go on for miles. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And the great thing about this place, it's near to my home, and no one comes here. No one apart from me, which is fantastic. It's a great place to get some peace and quiet, tranquility and beauty. It's wonderful. Now I know that I'm breaking one of my core rules when the sun's out, which I'd say to all of you guys, which is wear a hat in summer and spring when the sun's out. I do have my hat, but for the purpose of this video, I'm giving you guys a little treat and not wearing it. This system actually is looking pretty good. I mean, you know, it's 2 months old. It's a LaVivid see-through, Louis see-through, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's a LaVivid Louis see-through system, ultra thin skin, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. Colour's still fine, so comfortable. If you want one yourself, a LaVivid system, you know where to look guys. Check out my description box below, 15% discount. So basically the purpose of this video guys is I wanted to tell you a bit about why I started wearing systems, what happened to me before I started wearing systems, why I wear systems, how it's changed things for me, and so on and so forth. Basically giving you a bit of an insight into my life. I have a few people who've commented wanting to know more about me as a person, and you know, what I'm like, what I do, what my hobbies are. One of my hobbies is getting out into nature, which I love. Another one of my hobbies is astrology. I love stargazing, and I'm a real history geek as well. So I've got plenty of hobbies sort of keep me busy in my spare time, and I love it. And some of them, weirdly, I stopped myself from doing before I had a system because I was so self-conscious about my appearance. As many of you know, but for any newbies out there, I suffer from a condition called Trichotillomania, which is basically, it's not the most flattering name. I think it's a ridiculous name, to be honest. But it basically is a hair pulling condition, a compulsive hair pulling condition, which can start when you're very young, and for many people like myself, it can be a lifelong condition. It can affect the hair, it can affect the eyebrows, it can affect your sort of beard hair, it can affect sort of any hair which grows on your body. Funnily enough, it's supposed to be very rare, but I know a lot of people, not a lot, I know a few people who have the same condition, but they don't do it with their hair, they do it with their eyebrows. Maybe I should mention to them about hair systems for eyebrow, because you can just buy a hair, well, not a hair system, but you can buy certain manufacturers, they make sort of systems, as it were, for eyebrows and that kind of thing, and even beards. So maybe I should suggest it to them. They don't actually know I wear a system, so that would be a start. Right, so before I had systems, I was a very anxious person, very fearful, very worried about, you know, what people would make of my appearance, fear that I would get mocked, bantered, all of these kind of things. There were so many of them, and it basically limited my life so much. I'm also a chronic pain sufferer, so that also sort of limited my life, but I didn't go anywhere. I pretty much refused to socialise. I didn't like going out with sort of friends because I was worried that people would mock my appearance. I was worried that I would struggle to strike up new conversations with people and make new connections because I was so fearful of, you know, what people might think of my hair, because it was patchy. It was very patchy, and it had been patchy for a long time, from bits that I've been pulling. My anxiety was just through the roof. And when I look back at it now, I lived through such a thin lens. And it was only actually once I started getting systems that I really started building my confidence back up again. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who are system wearers can sort of resonate with this. And people who are new to my channel, or who just don't wear systems and are thinking about it, it really can be a game changer. It can change the game for you like unlike anything else. You know, I tried the minoxidil, I tried the finasteride, I tried the laser, I tried everything, and nothing can really give you the level of confidence, not even a hair transplant, I don't think, because you don't get that level of thickness that you want if your donor hair isn't that good, and it can fall out again as well. But it can give you a level of confidence and belief in yourself that you may have lost through your hair loss journey. And that's why I think they're so fantastic. And the great thing is there's no transition period. You can completely change your appearance and your life overnight, which is great. It certainly felt that way for me. Apologies if you can hear a creaking, by the way. That is a tree, and I really hope it doesn't fall down. Initially I was like, what is that? It sounds like a door opening, but it's not. It's just the wind blowing through some of the taller trees. I think when I first got my first system, which was about, I think over 5 years ago now, either 4 or 5 years ago, I immediately felt that severe anxiety and fear, and social anxiety and fear dissolve away within minutes of walking out of that salon. It was probably the most profound experience of my life. It was that transformational, and I'm pretty much 100% certain that I wouldn't have met my current fiance, I wouldn't have the life that I have today without taking that leap and getting a hair system, because I just wouldn't have had the confidence to do that, I just wouldn't have had that belief in myself to go out and meet new people, that sort of confidence to really be myself again, be that confident me that I had as a youngster, which I'd lost through my sort of hair pulling and hair loss journey. And I don't think this is talked about enough with men, the struggles that we go through when we are losing our hair. Because effectively, when you're losing your hair, you're losing part of who you are as a person, you're losing part of your identity. So it's beyond even, the emotions that you experience with it. It's beyond the anxiety, it's beyond the depression, it's beyond the fear. It's losing part of who you are. And that is not discussed enough, it's not respected enough. And it's funny, I was doing a YouTube video search, I was just sort of scrolling around sort of balding men, anxiety and that kind of thing, and it's amazing how pretty much all of the videos I saw, apart from a few, were just like, man up and go bald, man up and let your hair fall out, or stuff like this, which is, I don't think it's the right attitude for men to take. If you want to go bald, that's absolutely fine, no problem with that, that's your prerogative. Hats off to you for doing that, for having the bravery to do that. But I think as well, if someone wants to, hold on to their appearance, the appearance of youth, the appearance of hair on their head, an appearance that gives them self-confidence, why should that decision be questioned? Why should that decision be laughed at? Why should that decision be met with a question of, well, why don't you just go bald and embrace it? Well, maybe not everyone wants to embrace it, I wasn't ready to embrace it. Maybe because of the trauma I experienced as a child, having, there's a massive bumblebee there, having basically been laughed at, by people I went to school with because I had these big clumps of hair missing and so on. That was pretty traumatic for me. I didn't want to go through that again. I didn't want to need to deal with that. Why should I? Why should you have to be re-traumatized again and again throughout your life when it's completely unnecessary? If having a hair system, a toupee or a hair transplant, or even using minoxidil or Propecia, if that makes you feel better about yourself, then why on earth should anyone question that? And if I look at my life now, it's so much better than where it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago I was living at home with my mum. I was pretty directionless in life, living in London, didn't know where my next stopping point was, didn't know where I was going to live, didn't have any real idea of what my life would look like sort of 5 years from then. And when I look back now, because that's around the time that I got a hair system, it's actually quite extraordinary how much my life has changed within that period since wearing hair systems. It's quite extraordinary. Now I've got a fiance, I'm getting married this year, I've got a lovely house, I live in a lovely part of the country down in Sussex, it's absolutely beautiful, I've got the countryside on my doorstep, I've been able to really embrace the hobbies that I have, I've really been able to geek out and do my thing. Yes, I've left some friends behind in London, but I still see them quite a lot. It's like an hour away on the train, it's not a problem. and my life has moved incalculably forward. It's really quite incredible, and that's why I'm such an advocate for this stuff, guys, because I've seen the change that it's had in me. I've seen the change it's had in other people who wear systems. It really is transformational. It's up there with one of the most transformational things I think a man can experience. And I think, as I've spoken in other videos, I think it's time that we really did start getting rid of the stigma around this. And there is a stigma around it. I spoke about that video that I made that went viral and the amount of abusive comments that I got. That needs to stop, really. You know, would those same people say that to a woman who's got a wig, who's got alopecia? No. I think when women get wigs because they've got alopecia from chemotherapy, or they've just got alopecia for whatever reason, genetics or stress related, they're praised for it, they're heralded. And I think gents should be the same, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We've all got feelings as well. I spoke at the top of the video about, you know, the emotions and the feelings that I went through before I got a system. And now I look at my life and the emotions that I experience now compared to then. It's like night and day. It's amazing how one thing in your life can make such a fundamental change to everything else. Now, for you guys out there who are suffering with anxiety and stress and fear and all of these kind of things, whether you have a unit or whether you don't, I find that people who aren't system wearers tend to be more anxious than people who've got a system. But let's be real, guys, at the end of the day, you know, we all probably experienced a level of anxiety before getting a system. Otherwise, we probably would have just done the bald look and not be bothered about it. I think we all fit into that sort of perfectionist category as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think actually, you know, being a perfectionist can get you quite far in life. Although if it gets to an extreme level, then, you know, possibly it isn't so helpful. But a few things that I've found really helpful in terms of working with your anxieties and working with your fears. Obviously, getting a hair system is massively helpful on a surface level for sure. But if you're still getting some anxiety and, you know, some feelings of stress or fear or whatever about your appearance or just anything, trust that you can feel them and know that that's safe. You know, just notice what the emotion is. It's called affect tolerance. So, you know, just naming, or affect labeling is naming the emotion, and then affect tolerance is just feeling it and then letting it go. This is something I've learned quite recently, and I kind of wish that I'd learned this, you know, even before I had systems. I would have still got systems, but these are incredibly useful tools to have with you going through life if you're feeling these emotions and you're really struggling. So, you know, identifying what the feeling is, you know, for instance, if you're feeling quite anxious, maybe you've got an exam coming up, or you've got a tough day at work, a tough meeting. Maybe you're worried about seeing, you know, family members or going to a social event, and there might be people you don't get on with there or you don't quite like. Just acknowledge it, you know, affect labeling, acknowledge it. So, you know, I'm feeling a bit anxious, or I'm feeling a bit fearful. I'm feeling a bit stressed about this, and just, you know, allow it to be there and it will pass. So much resistance to these kind of emotions is actually what causes these problems. And when I look back at before my hair system journey, and I was so anxious about my appearance and what people would make of it, it was resistance to anxiety, and it was a resistance to fear, it was a resistance to stress. I was too scared to actually feel these things and allow them to pass through me. I might do some more videos actually on sort of dealing with anxiety and that kind of thing, because I know that a lot of people in the community do suffer from anxiety. Probably most of us do. So if you'd find that helpful, let me know in the comments box below, because I've learned quite a lot on this. I've read a lot of books. I've worked with some people as well who are specialists in the field of sort of anxiety and stress and that kind of stuff. So I'm more than happy to sort of delve into this a bit more in my videos, because, you know, sometimes just having a hair system isn't enough, and we still suffer from these anxiety, over stress, over fear feelings. So I'm more than happy to share tips that I've learned, and these are backed by science as well. These are actual tips that are backed by scientific research. Another book that I recommend is called Dare, the Dare Approach as well. I'll whack that in the description box below. But again, you know, super helpful stuff that can help you deal with emotions if having a hair system doesn't completely cure your anxiety around your appearance. So I hope you found that video helpful, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the nature in the background. I will be planning to do more of these because it's coming to summer and the setting is wonderful. So if you're enjoying that as well, let me know, because I can do more of these. And if you're enjoying my content, please do subscribe. You don't have to, but it'd be really nice to have you on board. Whack that notification bell as well so you can be notified of when I make new content. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button as well. And hopefully we can reach more people out there. So I'll speak to you soon, guys. Thanks for tuning in.